A proposed cultural enhancement of Ramon Magsaysay Avenue in Davao City, Chinatown. A study on remodeling dilapidated buildings, urban regeneration of public spaces, and cultural design for streetscapes incorporating Filipino Chinese Oriental architecture. The historical background of a Chinatown is mainly a community that was formed by immigrants from China that were looking for better opportunities in other countries. Most of the culture and heritage in popular Chinatown of today, such as Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippine Chinatowns, can be traced back to the ancient times of China. Traditions such as architecture, language, and religion can be seen in the majority of Chinatowns. While the different Chinatowns progressed, cities began to embrace local Chinatowns as one of their own, and they adapted to the local cultures in the respective cities while still preserving the characteristics of a Chinese community. Characteristics such as roof, windows, lattices, ornaments, and other more still exist in major Chinatowns around the world. There is an estimate of 100 Chinatowns around the world. One of them, being Davao Chinatown, is known as the largest Chinatown in the world and has been a very progressive community. Through the years, Chinatown has developed itself to become the financial district of Davao, with all of the lots now being owned and most buildings have already been occupied by businesses at the establishments. The economy of Davao Chinatown grew in the past decade, but the area became more chaotic and unpleasant. Various problems have risen due to the lack of proper planning and maintenance. Among these problems, there is a loss of cultural character in Davao Chinatown, and it is important for a busy community like Davao Chinatown to have its roots embedded into the community and to have public spaces that are people-friendly in its area. In connection to this, the proposal of the cultural enhancement of Ramon Magsaysay Avenue in Davao Chinatown incorporates Chinese Oriental architecture with existing Davao Chinatown design typologies and uses urban regeneration and cultural designs to help reduce local problems in the community. Through the evaluation of the characteristics of public spaces and streetscapes of Davao Chinatown and the understanding of the essential factors to be considered inside the community, cultural design for facades is achieved by incorporating traditional Chinese designs into existing Filipino shophouses. Public space regenerative methods are taken advantage in order to classify architectural solutions that are applicable for the cultural redevelopment of Davao Chinatown. The proposal would be divided into three parts: the public realm, the private entities, and the design guideline for future development of shophouses. Starting with the public realm, it would be divided into two subcategories: the sidewalk system and the street organization. The sidewalk system is focused on the boundaries of pedestrian use. It would tackle problems of the pedestrian in Chinatown such as the following: uneven sidewalk, vendor organization, business extension, pollution, and night economy. For the uneven sidewalk, the sidewalk along Ramon Magsaysay Avenue differs from one area to another. It all depends on what suits the establishment perpendicular to the sidewalk. It reduces the walkability of the community because most of the people have difficulties going up and down the uneven sidewalk. Aside from the uneven elevation of the sidewalk, the design of the sidewalk also differs from one area to another, creating an unpleasant uniformity along the sidewalk. The proposed solution for the problem is to use the highest elevation per block as a standard height of sidewalk for that block. This is to create uniformity along the sidewalk without need to bulldoze higher floor levels in the block. Ramps are also put on every corner of the block to provide ease of access for all pedestrians going up and down the sidewalk. For the vendor organization, since vendors are not forced out of Davao Chinatown, they have been since scattered along Ramon Magsaysay Avenue, selling a variety of things from food to art. They are one of the major causes of foot traffic and congestion along the sidewalk because they are situated among the crowded areas. To keep the order between users along the sidewalk, vendors could only place themselves 0.8 meters after the building line. This is to give pedestrians walking through the sidewalk space priority before the vendors. In order to have a general type of stand that could be used for the vendor activities seen in Chinatown, the proponent proposes a mobile vendor stand that is applicable to most type of vendor styles of selling. Some of the key features found in the mobile vendor stand are expandable display table, built-in storage compartment, and a pull-up grid mesh as an additional display for the merchandises. For the general sidewalk, the total width will be divided into 3 lanes. The pedestrian lane, which is the topmost priority, is allotted 60% of the sidewalk with a minimum of 1.2 meters. The reserved lane is the lane closest to the street and is second priority with a minimum of 0.5 meters to allot adequate space for columns and furnitures for future development. The business extension and vendors would share what's left of the remaining space on the sidewalk given that it is not less than 0.8 meters. Vendors can only place themselves on the frontage of the building that are not used for business extension. For the business extension have been part of the culture of Davao Chinatown, but some businesses are abusing it and extending their products to the point that it conflicts with the pedestrian movement. As a solution for this, business extension are given a 0.8 meter boundary from the building line where they could extend their product. Pollution. Based on survey and observation, the pedestrians walking along the sidewalk are so close to the street that it reduces the walkability of the sidewalk and creates discomfort for the users that are sensitive to pollution. As a way to fight off pollution for the sidewalk, large-scale planters would be used to absorb some of the pollution. Planters would also give further shade for the pedestrian walking through the sidewalk. Night economy. During nighttime, it is observed that most of the sidewalk are dangerous to walk through because it does not have any light source, thus discouraging the people to walk along the sidewalk of Ramon Magsaysay Avenue during the night. As a solution for this, the public sidewalk must be well lit during the evening to attract pedestrians to walk along the sidewalk without security risk. Street organization. Major problems faced are vehicular organization, lack of public recreational areas, and unclear loading and unloading zones. For the vehicular organization, it is concluded that some of the major causes of footless traffic in the area are vehicles circulating the street trying to find an open parking spot and vehicles double parked at the road, causing tightening of the road for vehicles to pass through. The parking spaces on the side of the street would turn into temporary parking spaces for public vehicles loading and unloading or for fast transaction for the businesses. This is to provide better circulation of users in the area while having limited time in the parking area to accommodate more vehicles to come in and out of the community. For the proposed pocket park, based on the survey and observation, the pedestrian walking through Chinatown needs places to stop by. The public sidewalk doesn't offer any amenities that would let people take a break. Based on the interviews and surveys, the proposed pocket park would be for the employees to use during their break or for pedestrians to stop by while walking. This would benefit the comfortability of users while creating more vegetations for the urban community. For the drop-off zones, aside from the yellow painted box, it doesn't have any distinctive designs as to where it is situated in the street if observed from a distance. The added designs would further feature the current lay-by of Davao Chinatown by being able to be seen from a distance, while the sidewalk would also have a distinct color to identify the lay-by from the sidewalk area. These are now specified problems within each area for Ramon Magsaysay Avenue. Starting with the hardware district or Area 1, the current problem are the nighttime economy and cultural design. For the nighttime, as soon as Area 1 hits evening, most of the establishment closes, bringing with them the life of the public street. What is left are dark sidewalks, some establishments resupplying, and cars passing by. As a solution for this, a proposed detachable night market would be placed on one side of the street, while street lights would be placed on the center of the street to create a distinctive street view while having a better distribution for the lighting of the area. The next problem is cultural identity. Aside from the Arch of Friendship, there are no significant characteristics of the community that separates them from the rest of Davao, leaving users walking through the Davao Chinatown without any cultural reference in its street view. Public amenities such as signposts, pedestrian crossing, canopies, and street posts would be redesigned to have an iconic and unique design compared to the other parts of Davao communities. Going to Area 2, one distinctive problem is the conflict between PUVs at the front of Santa Ana Elementary School, which would better enhanced by recognizing the lay-by for jeepneys and tricycles individually. The biggest issues faced by Area 3 is flooding, especially on rainy seasons. To counter this, the pavement for the temporary parking would be converted to a permeable pavement where rainwater can be retained and slowly be absorbed by the soil underneath. This would help reduce the flooding of the community. Moving on to the private entities, the proponent introduces 4 distinctive buildings remodeled from dilapidated buildings to create a new form suitable for the specific kind of establishment needed by the community. These remodeled buildings would serve a unique purpose of further enhancing the culture of Davao Chinatown while creating an economic opportunity for businesses of Chinatown. The 4 proposed buildings are the following. The first one would be a student dormitory. A student dormitory in Davao is mostly found near college sites. Each dormitory facility offers student amenities that create social activities in the building. The dormitory building could also serve as a gathering place for the youth, increasing the activities in the area. On the other hand, dormitories also tend to invite businesses opportunities for neighboring buildings. The design would have a modernistic approach to fit the neighboring styles while still incorporating Chinese designs. To accommodate the relocated parking slots from the streets, there would be two centralized parking buildings in Ramon Magsaysay, one of which is located in the Hardware District. It would be in the center between the Arch of Friendship and in the middle of the Institutional District. The design would follow its form while having distinctive Chinese characteristics embedded into its facade to create a focal point in the community. Based on the ocular inspection, Ramon Magsaysay Avenue lacks Chinese food authenticity, and since most of the pedestrians serving in Area 2 are looking for places to eat, then, to promote Chinese food authenticity in the community, a proposed hawker-style food court would have an ideal spot in Area 2. For the design phase, to go in line with the authenticity of the food cuisine by the Chinese culture, the design of the building would also have a traditional style. Design guidelines. The purpose of the design guideline is to serve as a guide for future exterior alteration and addition to existing building facade, and for construction of new buildings within Ramon Magsaysay Avenue. The guideline includes the characteristics of the building in the community, the characteristics of famous buildings from different dynasties of traditional Chinese architecture, and the characteristics of facade in the Chinatown culture. The guideline would be separated into two categories: articulation of existing building facade and the construction of new building in Ramon Magsaysay Avenue. For the articulation of the buildings, it would consist of the background of design guidelines, which would feature examples of current status of buildings in Davao Chinatown that would be tackled. It would also include guideline elements, which would be the option that could replace the highlighted parts from the background. And the other one would be the application of the guideline, which would be the outcome of the combination of the background and the guideline elements. Most of the buildings in Chinatown can be distinguished into three general architectural styles. The three styles, which is modern, traditional, and contemporary, have a unique, distinguishable characteristics. In order to identify Chinese designs which would be applied in the community, similar characteristics from several famous historical buildings that are dated back from the dynasty area have been analyzed. The proponent also analyzes characteristics found in several international Chinatowns that would be also considered when designing the community. The general element that creates the form in shop houses in Ramon Magsaysay Avenue can be broken down into several elements. These elements are the canvas where the design guidelines would be applied to that would eventually make up the whole facade design. By combining the Chinese design and the general form of the shop houses, these specifications would be the general design for the authenticity of the facade. A variety of examples that are inspired but not limited to the traditional designs are showcased. The new building would showcase prototypes of different sizes of shop houses while also illustrating the harmony between the current majority of the architectural styles in the community and the variety of elements of the traditional Chinese designs. The guideline for new building in Davao Chinatown would not be limited to the current styles of Davao Chinatown, but rather welcomes designers to bring new architectural styles to the community. Architectural styles will continue to grow throughout the years, and after some time, other styles will outshine the current style trend of today. Thus, the guideline welcomes new styles to rise in the community as long as the guideline for cultural Chinese design would still be mixed to the new design. A proposed cultural enhancement of Ramon Magsaysay Avenue in Davao City, Chinatown. A study on remodeling dilapidated buildings urban regeneration of public spaces, and cultural design for streetscapes incorporating Filipino, Chinese, Oriental architecture.